I saw a TikTok comment. It was on this video of Kurt Cobain calling out this guy. And somebody in the comments was like, I don't know who this man is, but I have a lot of respect for him. And so the first two comments were really nice and respectful, but then from there on out, it was just like, you don't know who Kurt Cobain is? Who raised you? What is this generation? I want to say to that person who said, I don't know who this is, it is okay that you don't know who Kurt Cobain is. It's just this thing that people tend to get riled up about, which is, you don't know this thing that I like. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how I think it's a much more deeper underlying problem than we necessarily give it credit for. And I'm going to get into that. It's not just, oh, you don't know who this person is. It also butts its ugly head in comment sections of Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Too high of a concentration of the comments on this video are like, oh, stupid kids these years don't know who Fleetwood Mac is and they're only figuring out through evil TikTok. It's maybe disappointing that somebody like myself wouldn't know who Fleetwood Mac is, but now I do. Is that not cause for celebration if you like Fleetwood Mac so much? And so this is just another example, right? That I'm a fan of My Chemical Romance, and I have seen where people say, oh, all these kids joining the fandom well, after Umbrella Academy comes out. And it's like, yes, they are coming into this world of MCR because of Umbrella Academy. And that is not a bad thing. If you care about the band, then you should be glad that people are finding the band because it could help them. It could save their life. Why are you so angry about it? And if someone says, like, oh, you're not a real fan of MCR because you found out about them through Umbrella Academy, and I've been here since 2002, you are a real fan. If you like My Chemical Romance, if you like any of these things, then yes, you are a real fan. This is gatekeeping. Like, oh, you're wearing a Green Day shirt? Name 3 of their least popular songs. Listen up, Captain. Why do you care if I can name 3 of Green Day songs? Why? I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think that it is that this whole phenomenon happens, and I'm going to try to dig deeper into it. And I might be in over my head. I might be making drawing. I might be like that Charlie Day meme where he's like, but I'm going to get into this. So, let's go. Alright, so let's talk about gatekeeping and why I think that it's a deeper rooted issue and why I think it actually connects and ties to a lot of things. First off, let's go by an example. Punk music. I love punk music. Punk is freaking dope. And it's so cool. And like, it has spawned so many good things in this world. Punk rock is amazing. And there's so much gatekeeping in punk rock. Green Day, it's a subgenre of punk. It's more like pop punk-ish around there. And someone was like, oh, Green Day's not punk. You don't know punk. You think MCR is punk? Just because it's not the Clash or the Ramones doesn't mean it's not a sub-genre. And those sub-genres are fine. And this is just this weird, like, genre gatekeeping, right? That's just, it's a part of it. So let's use this example, right? Let's go into this specific example of gatekeeping in punk rock music and how I think this bigger issue connects to gatekeeping punk rock music. I think that for a lot of people, there is a sense of belonging and identity in being one of the few that listens to punk music. Let's say that you grew up on the Clash and the Ramones. That's just something that it's part of your DNA. And so you have like this identity, this belonging built up onto this, and that's totally cool. But then I think that people sort of calcify this identity until it's like, okay, we ran out of tickets, no more people can join me in this identity. And I don't think that that's right. I think that, especially with a genre like punk, it should never calcify like this. It should remain this free-forming thing, and I think it should remain kind of central to maybe even the ideologies behind punk, the feelings, the angst. Punk is bigger than itself, and if you fall anywhere into that spectrum of what punk is, why can you not identify yourself as a fan of punk? I think that it's because so many people with this identity that they formed for themselves, it's like, no, This is for me and my buddies. We grew up and we listened to punk rock music together, and this is me and the boys, you know? And now you're coming in here, this 20-year-old something, and you're trying to break my bubble, and that's not okay. I think that's what's happening. This belittling and hating on people just because they don't fit into your idea of what this thing is. It's a subculture. Punk is a subculture, and so to gatekeep that subculture and say, like, you're not allowed in because you missed the ticket, you missed the deadline. There's no deadline for this. There's no deadline for being angsty. I'm using punk as my base here because that's something I can talk about, but this applies to a lot of things, I think. And it even, let's expand out further to music in general, because it's a huge talking point that real music is dead. Real music died with Buddy Holly. Real music died with Kurt Cobain. And it's not that simple at all. It was tragic. It was tragic when Buddy Holly died. It was tragic when Kurt Cobain died. These people who died, Club 27, utterly tragic. But their death was not the death of music. To say, like, oh, I can't believe kids these days are listening to Post Malone and Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish and Post Malone are dope. And that doesn't invalidate my punk rock status. And my punk rock status does not devalue those musics. Imagine tiers over here. The first tier is, you don't know who Kurt Cobain is? Who raised you? The second tier is like, oh my gosh, kids these days don't know grunge music at all. And then it's like, you're not allowed into punk. That's my thing. And music is my thing. And then it goes down, like going down these layers. I think that the root of it, insert we live in a society Joker meme, it's societal. Because I think that we have put such a weird way of classifying our identities. Societally, we have such a weird way of classifying who we are, and I think it causes so many problems. I'm going to talk about LGBT plus community later on, but that definitely applies to this idea specifically. Let's say that this person who has this calcified idea of punk rock music, let's say that this isn't calcified, and now they don't know what their identity is because they can only imagine identity as this, because society has taught that this is kind of like what it is, or whatever. This is what they know. This is not something that they're comfortable handling. And why is that? I think that once you do this, it stops being me versus them. And I feel like our society, especially, I'm gonna sound like such a leftist, our capitalistic society of, you know, like dog eat dog, whatever, Wolf of Wall Street, I don't know, I'm just saying words. This capitalistic society where you have, like, it's not peers, it's competitors that you have to fight against. I think that actually ties a lot into this. Whereas, like, your identity is built on your standing with others. This capitalist society, we are fighting against each other. It's not just enough to say, I like punk music. It becomes this thing of, like, I need to be higher in the hierarchy of punk music than you are. And my way of doing that is belittling and, like, talking down to you and gatekeeping you so that you're way down here and I'm way up here. I'm the real fan. I'm the one who listens to real music. I'm the real MVP of this society. That's what this whole thing is. And of course, that goes way rabbit traily over that way. Maybe I'll talk about that later if you're interested. But so I think honestly, gatekeeping, it's weird that I just came to this epiphany. I have this whole page of notes, but I feel like gatekeeping does relate to capitalism. I'm laughing because I just feel like this I'm gonna end up on like a leftist cringe video compilation. It's not 2016. What am I talking about? I think that this sense of belittling and hating on everyone is because, other words, this is just too fragile. And I think it's frustrating when somebody is saying, oh, you don't know who Kurt Cobain is, how dare you? However, I think it's really sad because what is going on? What has society done to you that you feel like your sense of worth is in some way connected and tied to knowing who Kurt Cobain is while other people don't? And so now let's go down deeper into these layers. I'm not like other girls. That's a whole phenomenon we have seen unfold over these past few years of internet use is the "I'm not like other girls" trope. Let's talk about that. I think what we see with the "I'm not like other girls" trope, it connects to this idea that I've mentioned of belittling and hating on others to advance yourself. And obviously there's a lot of misogyny and sexism that goes into the "I'm not like other girls" things, and it's a lot to do with media, yada yada yada, etc. We want to advance because that's how we've been raised. We want to climb the ranks, and I think what we see with "I'm not like other girls" is the way that society has been laid out. People who are assigned female at birth are societally put at a lower rung, and this actually, it presents itself in capitalism, presents itself in whatever. I think what "I'm not like other girls" is society has, I feel like I'm getting so deep into this web of Charlie Day meme, these rings of capitalism that people are trying to climb in whatever way that they can, because capitalism is really hard to climb on its own. You can say, oh, I'm a real 90s kid, oh, I'm a real Nirvana fan, and it goes up and up and up. I think that for girls, a lot of times it feels like you are automatically on a lower rung. So you and your male peer, same age, same everything, this is the differentiation. This is the girl, this is the boy. And so I think what "I'm not like other girls" is you're trying to climb that ladder just to be equal. Perhaps, just perhaps, the people who are lower on the ring of actual capitalism. Service workers, factory workers, minimum wage workers, you're important. And I feel like society has put you at such a low rung even though you're so important. And I think that people on this level can get bitter, and that might possibly be where the gatekeeping comes in. Also because past cultures, I think it was, past cultures meaning like the 90s. I've been told that in the 90s it was not cool to be a dork, you were getting made fun of to be a dork. And a lot of those dorks might have turned to, I don't know, things that put them in these subcultures. So they feel like these subcultures are built into this almost oppression that they've been put into their peers by being bullied, being put down and said like, you're nothing, you're worth nothing, and I think that having that subculture built around, say, grunge, Nirvana, it elevates you as much as you can. And I think that also goes into why people then calcify it. Like, no, I had to fight. This grunge music is what got me through. That's why it gets so calcified. And it's just society's fault. The end. Thanks for watching. No. So let's go and not like other girls. Explain that idea. So I will cross that off. Oh, I crossed that off too hard. Because of all this gatekeeping. It's just the layers. The 7 layers of hell. Because of gatekeeping. Because of capitalism, you're feeling pretty bad. I'm making fun of myself, don't mind me. Just a bunch of babbling. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Okay. I'm gonna move on to part 3 because I'm just babbling at this point. This whole video, everything I'm talking about, does get kind of dicey at some point because I don't want to cross the line, because there's so much nuance to everything that I don't want to cross the line. I think that there's some gates that should be in place. Honestly, there should be. But I think that those communities are built on like a shared pain and a shared oppression, a shared experience, sort of, while the rest of what I've been talking about is more on a shared interest, shared, I don't know, other characteristics that don't relate to how society has hurt you necessarily. It gets all dicey and nuancy, but still coherent, I think, when you look at it from a sociological perspective. But I'm not sure if I'm going to articulate it in a way that makes any lick of sense. So just bear with me. If I don't, leave a comment asking clarifying questions and I will let you know. I want to make sure that any misconceptions get cleared up. So if you have a question, comment it. Don't be afraid of sounding stupid, and I will go in and I'll try to explain. So let's talk about gatekeeping and the LGBTQ+ community. Let's talk about gatekeeping in the LGBT+ community. This isn't a coin with two sides. This is like a dodecahedron. I don't know. It's a lot of nuance that goes into this, so I'm just going to be spitballing ideas, and if I say something wrong, I'm really sorry. I am part of the LGBT plus community. That doesn't mean I know everything. That doesn't mean that all of everyone's experiences are something I relate to. So if I say something wrong, again, I apologize. On one hand, there are groups that belong into the LGBT plus community that are being gatekeeped, and people are being bigots towards them. Even with like bisexuality, biphobia is definitely a thing. I know people are trying to get the T out of LGBT plus, and that's TERFs. TERFs are doing that, which is trans exclusionary radical feminists. If I say something that you don't know what it means, again, don't feel stupid. Comment below. I will do my best to answer. So people are trying to keep different people out of the LGBT plus community. And obviously there's debate that goes into that, but I think that there's a lot of people who belong in the LGBT plus community, and I think that there are people who don't. Intersex people belong, and anti-sexual. Honestly, yeah, I'm sure that some asexuals feel anti-sexual, but asexuals, pansexuals, omnisexuals, non-binary, demi-girl, demi-boy, demi-flux. Well, I don't know. I've said all of the vocabulary off the top of my head. These are people who have experienced discrimination and societal hurts because of their gender or their sexuality, or that historically have experienced these hurts and etc. because of their gender and identity. I think that a lot of those people have experienced a lot of hurt, whether from socialization, the church, laws, parental raising up. Like, there's so many things that could cause hurt if you fall outside of the cisgender heterosexual normative of society, which that means society that the default is that you were assigned at birth the gender you feel comfortable with, and that you are attracted to the opposite gender. That's what cisgender heterosexual normative would be. So I think that those people you shouldn't gatekeep those people, and I think asexuals do fall into that because, again, it's definitely the default to be allosexual, which is the opposite of asexual. So I think that a lot of those people do fall into the LGBT plus community. Who does not fall into the LGBT plus community, I don't want to say the word because I'm gonna get demonetized. I'm not even monetized, but if I ever do get monetized, I don't want to get in trouble. MAPS, minor attracted persons, PEDO files. You get what I mean. I hope you do. Those people do not belong in the LGBT plus community. They belong in therapy. And I say they belong in therapy in a non-derogatory way. Like, if you're feeling those attractions, you belong in therapy. So that doesn't belong in the LGBT plus community. If you can't tell, I struggle to say all those letters. And then people who are cisgender and heterosexual don't belong in the LGBT plus community. And it's okay to be an ally, but not to try to claim this community as yours if it's not yours. That's something that I think is okay to gatekeep, especially when it can be harmful to the community and to the world and to children, and it can be harmful, then yeet. So I think that that is an exception for gatekeeping, and I think that race is an exception for gatekeeping. I'm white. I don't have much to talk about for that. I can say something. I am gatekeeped for race, and I'm accepting of it. I feel very strongly for my Native ancestors. I love them a lot. I wish I could be part of that culture, but I'm not, and I'm definitely white. I'm definitely German, Czechoslovakian. So even though I have that ancestry that means a lot to me, I'm not going to claim myself as Native American. And I'm okay being gatekeeped out of that because I don't know the struggle. I'm going to fight for natives, and I'm going to be proud of my ancestry, but I'm not going to come out here and say, I'm a Native American, I'm a Cherokee. I don't know the first thing about being a Cherokee. I wish I did, but I don't. So I'm not going to claim that I'm Native American. Words are a struggle. So those are two examples of things that can be gatekeeped. Also, like professions, like you can't go around saying you're a doctor if you haven't even published high school. Like, there's some things that actually require you to achieve to be part of that thing. But grunge music and these things that people are always gatekeeping, those don't need any qualifications to like Nirvana. You don't need any qualifications to like punk music or to wear a Deadpool shirt. It's just what it is. I think this is point 4. It's also on the flip side of, this is actually like, if it's a 4-sided dice. Yes, a 4-sided dice. Does that exist? That can't exist, right? No. Math. If it's a 4-sided dice, this is on the opposite side. I'm just going to use an example that I can relate to, which is this idea of, oh, they were hateful to you? Well, they're not real Christians. That is belittling, not to the Christians, but to the person you're talking to. Like, if somebody has been hurt by the church, don't tell them, oh, that wasn't real Christians, because that is what Christianity is in 21st century America. And we just have to accept that. As Christians, as people who love Jesus, we have to accept that the church is harmful. We can't say, oh, they don't really follow my Christ. Like, we can quote the Gandhi quote, I like your Christ, your Christians not so much. We can say that. We can believe that. We can say, I'm a Franciscan, because that's what I am. I'm a Franciscan. I don't like Protestantism. That's fine. To denounce someone's identity because you disagree with them, and to ignore the harm that your community has done. That is the flip side of this argument. What was I saying? You can't dissociate somebody from your group just because they're mean. If you're in a if you're in a majority identity, then you have to accept harm that community has done. I fully accept and recognize the harm that the Christian community has caused, and I want to transcend that. I want to not be part of that. I want to follow St. Francis more than, I don't know, Protestant person. I am not going to say, oh, they weren't real Christians. I might say, I don't think that they listened to actual Jesus, but Christians are what they are, and we have to accept that. And I don't know what other communities this might apply to, and I think that it applies to mainly majority. Speaking from a sociological perspective, not just a leftist perspective, but a sociological perspective, I think that majority identities are the ones who have to check this. Not so much minority identities, but maybe minority identities. I don't know. Look into it. If you look into your identities, see if they've caused harm, process, evaluate, do your due diligence for being a human on this earth, I suppose. Basically, it's almost like this weird form of gatekeeping, because here's Christians, and then you hear all these bad things that Christians have done, and all of a sudden you're way down here and you want to be up there. So you're like, those aren't real Christians, and all of a sudden you try to undo all that harm and say, I'm still up here. I'm not down here. I'm up here. But the thing is, we are Christians. I'm a Christian. Then I have to acknowledge that when I say I'm a Christian, there's a lot of harm that comes with that. I don't like starting conversations with, I'm a Christian, because I know that there's a lot of people that could harm. And I wish that wasn't the case. I love Jesus very much, and I wish that it wasn't the case that me saying that made people afraid. But it is the case. And as Christians, we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that that identity puts us down here. And we have to work to improve ourselves. We have to work to prove ourselves as not going to hate crime the person we're talking to. You see society at large, it's going to be tempting to say, oh, they're not real Christians, because people are starting to call out Christianity for its bullcrap. The thing is that we have to acknowledge this. We can't just in one sentence undo this and get up here. We have to work to get up here. And if we can, we bring the others with us. As much as we can, we bring the others with us. Because if our group is hurting someone, we have to fix that. We can't just accept it as what it is. We can't be complacent in what our group is doing. If our group is hurting someone, we have to say something. We can't just say, oh, it's not me, I didn't do it. I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. It's not my fault, it's not my problem. We can't do that. We have to acknowledge the pain that we, in some regard, may have caused, even if not directly. That's something important to do. Part 5, part 4.5, actually. I'm just going to make a little note. What I had said earlier about how gatekeeping differences between grunge and like LGBT plus BIPOC people. BIPOC is BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. Yeah, just in case you weren't familiar with that terminology. Also, in case you happen to not be familiar with LGBT plus community, lesbian, gay, bi, trans, plus is everything else that I listed and then some. So be BIPOC, LGBT, and grunge. Either way, either group, it is fantastic to learn. Learning is good. Maybe you are cisgender, heterosexual, and white. You can still learn. You can't become a part of this community, but you can be an ally. And allies are really important because minorities can't get much without allies because we're the minority. Compared to the majority, we're the minority. So if the majority is with us and cares about us, that's super important. So allies are really important. Learning is great. Being an ally, learning is great. If you are new to the grunge scene, if you're new to the punk scene, if you're being gatekeeped for watching Deadpool or whatever, whether you are a diehard fan that has known Nirvana since the 90s, or you are 16 and you just heard It Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time today, I am the first time you have ever heard the name Kurt Cobain. If you want to learn about that culture, more power to you. Doesn't matter. Learning is good. We shouldn't gatekeep learning. Ever. There should be no gate between you and learning. That's not fair. Oh, gatekeeping education? No. Let me bring up Hanky Green again. Hanky Green has a TikTok where he's very angry. I like when Hanky Green gets angry because I usually learn something. Been in my brain since then. Which was, Hank Green, he's an educator. If you know who Hank Green is, you know who Hank Green is. If you don't know who Hank Green is, he's a smart man who educates people, and that's like his whole thing is educating people. But Hank Green said, imagine you learn something. This is the first moment you learn it, and then somebody immediately tells you you're stupid for not having known that before. That is a problem. Learning is good and should not be gatekeeped. Finding new music is a beautiful experience, and I don't want anyone to gatekeep you for it. If you're just listening to Green Day for the first time and you see in the comments kids these days don't know real music, don't feel bad about it because they're just being jerks. Numero 5. Part 5 for real this time. No half C's. It's part 5. This is my almost concluding sentences, maybe. There's a difference between you don't know who Kurt Cobain is? What's wrong with you? Who raised you? You're stupid. Kids these days. Oh my gosh. And you don't know who Kurt Cobain is. Kurt Cobain's really cool. Maybe you could look him up. There's a difference between, oh, you don't know what this is, you're stupid, and oh, you don't know what this is, let me give you information. This is rude and unneeded. This is very nice and helpful and could maybe improve someone's life somehow. If somebody was like, I don't know what My Chemical Romance is, it is okay for me to be shocked. Maybe even sad. Maybe even okay for me to say, I feel old. This has happened. I was hanging out with this small, well, it sounds weird to say I was hanging out with this small child. I work with kids, so I was hanging out with this kid who's like 11 years old. She was super emo, really cool. We were talking, just hanging out, being emo or whatever, and then I mentioned MCR because I was like, yes, this child will know what My Chemical Romance is. She's an emo. And she was like, what's My Chemical Romance? The level of shock I was in was immense. But if I were to then be mean to her about it and say, oh, you're not a real emo, oh, you're not this, oh, you're not that, that would be so mean. I don't understand. I don't understand why people are so mean to TikTokers in the YouTube comments of old music. Fleetwood Mac. I hadn't heard it before TikTok. I went to this new band that I liked and I was like, wow, this is really great. And all of the comments were insulting me. Going to a song that you just learned about and all of the comments are insulting you, that sucks. Why do we do that? What? Anyway. It is okay to be shocked. Maybe even sad. Maybe even feel old. It's okay to be shocked and sad and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But it's not okay to be rude and belittling. That's not okay. And I guess that's what this whole video is about, is because I'm getting so upset. TikTok is making me so upset. TikTok can be a beautiful thing, but sometimes it makes me so sad. Like, oh, I've been a fan of you since 2017. That's fine. But to be like, oh, I've been a fan of you and all these other people are just noobs and posers. Does anyone use those words anymore? Noobs and posers. I think that's rude. Just be like, oh, I'm better than you because you are just getting this information and I've had it for a long time. I think that's very rude. There's a YouTuber that I follow. She's in her 20s or something like that. And she plays a lot of grunge music. Like she does covers of like Soundgarden. She did one of Tool, I think, maybe. I don't know. She's doing covers of all these 90s bands and I was like, this is fantastic. And I, like a fool, I went to the comments section expecting people to be like, wow, you're so great. And I like comments. I like to go through and like comments, just give a little bit of support, you know, a little bit of dopamine to those people or whatever. And there's so many comments that I almost liked. And then I was like, I can't like that because you're being rude. These are the comments that would start and be like, wow, you're so good at this. Like, you're amazing. That sounds so good. And I would be like, yes, I'm going to like that comment. And then it would be like, kids these days suck. I'm glad that you're better than your whole generation. And I'm like, whoa there, buckaroo. Dial it back for a second. Why are you so angry? Or it'd be like, oh wow, Soundgarden, such a good band. I'm so glad that you did this cover of this song. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to like that because I like Soundgarden. That's a good band. And then immediately after that sentence, it'd be like, kids these days, real music is dead. I can't believe. Why? What is the point other than to try to make yourself feel better? I think that's my last point. I think that's my last point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my conclusion. Thank you so much for watching this video. It is okay if you don't know who Kurt Cobain is. It is okay if you don't know some of the words I said today. I want to hear your thoughts, and I want you to go out and be nice. Go out and be nice. And if somebody doesn't know what your favorite band is, enlighten them, because if you love a band so much, what joy it must bring you to share it, right? That's what I have to imagine. I love sharing My Chemical Romance with people because I'm like, this band gives me such feels. I want to share these feels with you. You don't know Nirvana? Oh my gosh, let me share these feels with you. You've never heard of Garth Brooks? That's a country music star, but you don't know Garth Brooks? Oh, you have to listen to this song. It's so good. So, be nice to people. Share the things that you like in a kind, supportive way. And if you like this video, like it. Let me know what you think in the comments because I'm trying to still get a feel for what I want to do with this channel. And your feedback would be really important to me. I would really like to know what you guys are thinking. I have a few other ideas for future videos and we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna see where it goes. Thank you so much. And if you like this video, hit like it. Oh wait, if you like this video, smash that like button like you're Kirby doing a down B, and also the subscribe button. Yeah, bye guys.